Good evening, America. Back for another podcast, webcast, videocast, whatever they call these things. Definitely on YouTube. So I was listening to somebody yesterday talk about schools in the public school, and they were considering sending their Christian daughter to a public school. So I got a couple of questions for you. Do you think the public school is poisoning your children based on the evidence you see? Turn on the news, watch it, and ask yourself, are the people on the newscast, the people in government, the young people you see on the streets protesting, the Greta Thunbergs of the world, are our public education institutions places where the children, the young adults, the teens are being poisoned with false information, with ideological poison? That's what you need to ask yourself. And the question is, why are we sending our kids to schools that poison them? So here's a question. If TUSD was renamed THYD, the Hitler Youth District, how many of you will be signing up to send your kids there in the fall? That may sound preposterous, but let's remember, Hitler took over a country and he took over the education system. Why? To perpetuate his rhetoric, his ideology. You start with the young ones and you go all the way up to the older ones. So they believe what you want them to believe. Hitler took over the education system. He put his teachers, the people who believe what he wanted, in power. That's what he did. So the real question for us is, if we're not going to send our kids to the Hitler Youth District, why are we sending them to TUSD if they're unwilling to actually educate our children instead of indoctrinate? This is how you get Black Lives Matter. This is how you get a country who would even dare to elect Joe Biden. Whether you like Trump or not, Joe Biden, you already know the answer to that. So we get that because ideologues tell the Black community that, guess what? You're disenfranchised. You are being taken advantage of. We have white privilege. Therefore, you are less than. And we have to get all the white people to admit to their white privilege so we can start a revolution. Right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to convince us that there is white privilege. There is evil America that hates Black people, when we are the freest nation on the face of the planet, not only now, but in history. In history, people. Where does this rhetoric come from? School. They are poisoning their minds. And then you think it's a little poison. They're not putting in a big poison. They're not putting in a gallon. They're not putting in a half a gallon. They're not putting in a quart. They're not even putting in a cup. It's a little drip of poison here, a little drip of poison here. And you don't even know that your kids are being indoctrinated because the poison drops are small. And it's just skewing their thinking just enough. So the 100% truth turns into 99% truth, 98% truth, 96% truth, 80% truth. And before long, they don't know what they believe. And then they start following the crowd. Half truth is still a lie. If you believe 90% and believe 10% of a lie, it's still a lie. That's what they're up to. Do not be fooled by acronyms like TUSD. Your children are being indoctrinated from pre-kindergarten, pre-K, all the way up to graduate school and beyond in the U of A Arizona State, NAU, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford. We have to stop them from taking over and not diversifying other ideals. And if they're not willing to do it, then you, as a parent, if you care about the truth, if you care about your children's minds and their hearts and their souls, then you don't want the Hitler Youth District to train your children, to indoctrinate your children, to poison your children. We want better for our kids, so their future is better. So they have ideals that line up with the principles that started this country. Critical thinking skills so they can dissect arguments and not just buy the narrative that's being planted in their heads and reinforced by the media, books, movies, movie stars, musicians, and sports figures. That's my opinion. Watch the videos to follow and see what you think. Remember, they can't win a revolution unless they win the hearts and the mind of the youth. Watch the news, look at what's going on. That's what's going on. Signing off. Hope you guys have a great day. Watch the videos to follow, and hopefully you will be in the truth.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Every cult has the same goal, the utter submission of its members. Cult members surrender everything. They give up their physical freedom, where they can go, who they can see, how they can dress. But more than that, they give up control of their minds. Cult leaders determine what their followers are allowed to believe, even in their most private thoughts. In order to do this, cults separate people from all they have known before. They force their members to renounce their former lives, their countries, their customs. They allow no loyalty except to the cult. The first thing they attack always is the family. Families are the main impediment to brainwashing and extremism. That's true in every culture. So if you're going to control individuals, if you're going to transform free people into compliant robots, the first thing you must do is separate them from the ones who love them most.
From his first days of power, Hitler knew that he had to bring the children of Germany under his control. The future of the Third Reich rested on their shoulders. Hitler wanted to produce a generation of dedicated and ruthless Nazis. A generation who could realize his dream of conquering the world.
Wir wollen nicht der Letzte sein in diesem Konzert der Welt, sondern wir wollen mit die Ersten sein. Das ist unser Gelöbnis. Und dass dieser Wunsch in Erfüllung geht, seid ihr mir verantwortlich, denn in euch liegt die Zukunft der Nation und des Deutschen Reichs.
The new Germany was to be forged in an organization where boys and girls would learn to dedicate their lives to Hitler. This movement was the Hitler Youth. The Hitler Youth would expand until it controlled every aspect of German children's lives.
We suddenly felt different from before. We were important and had a mission.
We were like soldiers. We were actually sworn in. Even though we were only 14, we swore to give our lives for the Führer, the people, and the fatherland.
German schools quickly fell under Nazi control. In Hitler's classrooms, children learned the art of war. Even in the kindergarten, they were taught racial theory. Graphic picture books branded the Jews a dirty and poisonous race. SS doctors measured and graded children to weed out the undesirables.
Georg Weber, Augenfarbe 2a.
There's a saying, every little drop wears away a stone. And we were like stones that water dripped onto slowly until we believed it was true.
You may not realize it, but you are currently funding some dangerous people. They are indoctrinating young minds throughout the West with their resentment-ridden ideology. They have made it their life's mission to undermine Western civilization itself, which they regard as corrupt, oppressive, and patriarchal. If you're a taxpayer or paying for your kid's liberal arts degree, you're underwriting this gang of nihilists. You're supporting ideologues who claim that all truth is subjective.
I work for Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry that I scared you. But since I work for that company, my CEO has told me to come out today and to bring you on your knees because you have white privilege. So if they see that a white person is getting on their knees, that shows solidarity for the situation. And could you just please apologize for your white privilege? Just apologize?
I am. I'm trying to think of the right words to say because that's a big thing to say.
It's big.
It comes from.
It's large in this country.
I'm incredibly